So we have a cassette tape here that came into the studio today, and we noticed that it had a very common problem. It's one of the very first things we check for when cassette tapes come in. And you'll see, if I move the leader tape away right here, you'll see there's this little shiny piece of copper, and it's not supposed to look like that. There's supposed to be a little piece of felt on it, like so. And so what happens is over time that adhesive that holds that little piece of felt on that copper just comes undone, and then this pressure pad falls off, and then you have to replace it. If you don't have that pressure pad there, the audio won't sound as good, and I'll kind of try to show you why. This is a head that's inside a cassette deck. Took this out so I could kind of show you how this works. So when you push play on a tape player, what happens is this head actually goes up into the player like that, into the tape, and it touches the tape as the tape goes past it, and then it reads the magnetic data. Well, in order to get a secure connection on the tape, they have that little pad. And then what happens is the tape, when this head goes up and touches it, the tape actually goes between it. And that's how you get a really solid connection on your tape. So replacing the pressure pad is pretty simple. You want to make sure, first of all, that it's rewound to one end or the other. And the reason is the leader tape is usually a little more easy to work with. It doesn't twist and turn as much as the magnetic tape does. And so it's just a good idea to have it rewound or fast forwarded all the way to the end, because otherwise the magnetic tape will it tends to curl and it can get difficult to manage. So audio cassettes most of the time have 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. And it's really just a matter of taking these screws out. Sometimes they're hard to get your fingers on them. Or the plastic actually gets a little bit stripped in there, but as long as you can get it mostly out, it should just lift off. Here, I'm going to need to work on this corner one just a little bit more. There we go. So now I'm going to lift this off, and then you'll see right here, this is just a little gasket, a little piece of plastic that we're just going to set aside. And then here's our tape. And from here, it's just a matter of just grab a pair of tweezers, grab the old one, pull it out just like so, and then we're going to grab the new one, and it should just set in there. There we go. And it's really that simple. And then you just put the thing back together. It's a good idea when you actually take the case off, just so you know. Once you get the screws off, don't flip it over and take it off the other way. Make sure that side A comes off. And the reason is, you'll notice that on the inside of these things, there's really no place on this side to put the pressure pad or this little piece of metal that's right there. And then also these little reels, sometimes if they have these posts, they'll tend to just fall out and that kind of thing. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you lift it off this way rather than flipping it over and taking it off. So now it's just a matter of putting this little gasket back in place. Taking the tape, this side of it, the shell, and then just one by one, putting the screws back in. And that pressure pad is really important. If you ever have a tape that sounds, I don't even know how to describe it, but spotty, it sounds really poor, you think, boy, it just doesn't sound the way it's supposed to. It's a lot of times it's because of this pressure pad being missing. This is very, very common. Just aging tapes, that adhesive just wears off like adhesives will. And there's my last screw. And that's it. And now we have that pressure pad in place. The tape will now play correctly and it'll sound really good. And anyway, that is how to replace the pressure pad in a cassette tape. And if you don't have screws on the tape, which a lot of tapes don't, what you can do is find a pressure pad from another tape and actually cut it off of pull it off of that copper and then just glue it onto the piece of copper that's in there. Otherwise, you find yourself having to break the tape open, and that can be a real hassle just for something like that. So that's a simple way to fix it if you don't have the screws. Anyway, that's all there is to it.